You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with Kirk.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got something pretty interesting, I think, this week, and I'm guessing you do too.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
look, if we didn't have something interesting,
why would we be here?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
probably redundant to say that, but I'm going to say it anyways.
I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm still riding a little bit of a high from Halloween. I'm not gonna lie, Kirk.
A little
always
sugar
fun.
high, or
Yes. But also just like the spirit of Halloween sticks with me for a little while longer than it maybe should. So I love Halloween so much, and like I get a little upset because before Halloween I was seeing other holiday decorations cropping up. Even with just like a couple days before Halloween, there were already like Christmas decorations up in stores, and the Halloween stuff was
they
already
go out
like
in, like,
halfway out.
August.
And I was like,
it's ridiculous.
what are you doing? Let Halloween
One at a
have
time.
its thing. Come
One
on.
at a time. And I'm glad people are excited about other stuff like like Christmas, and I don't want to yuck their yum, as they say, but like just let us have Halloween first.
Right? It's such a
big
special
this
time.
year. So many like witch and wizard costumes, and I mean in like the Harry Potter sense, like not the classic, like witches, Halloween witches.
Okay.
I saw so many kids wearing like Hogwarts robes and stuff this year.
That's wild.
I know, because that's not new.
That was
like,
my
that's
childhood.
Yeah, but it's still, kids are still rocking it, which is really cool.
Yeah, probably has to do with the video game that came out relatively recently.
Yep, that's probably a big part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been a really big fan of the giant skeletons in people's yards. Excellent, excellent addition to any yard.
I'm sure some people just hate those. And
Absolutely, but they're fun. I want to know personally.
Super fun.
This is a complete sidebar. I want to know how people store the giant, like the really, really big ones. How are you storing them? Where do they go? Do they come in? Do they like break down into a box? Like, I have questions.
That's a great question. One of my neighbors one year had one of the giant. It was like 20-foot tall skeleton.
Exactly.
And then the next year they had one. Maybe it was the same one they modified, but it was like crawling out of the earth.
It
was like coming out of a. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Oh, I've been seeing those a lot more this year, and it's bringing a lot of joy.
Bravo.
All right. So, Kirk, as you well know, I've established this, I think, on the show. I try to space out my ocean topics, my water topics.
Yes.
So that way I'm not doing a million in a row, because I truly could just sit in the ocean and just be like, we're just going to stay here forever. That would obviously mean that I would miss out on a bunch of other cool, strange nature things. But today is not that day. We're diving back into the ocean.
Into the ocean, okay.
We're diving pretty deep. We're going to the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. And we're going decent. We're going into the Twilight Zone of the Pacific Ocean, of the water column, which is about 2,000 to 2,600 feet.
That's no joke. Yeah.
No, that is real deep. For context, for science, that's 600 to 800 meters deep.
There you go.
We're looking for a particular fish. Obviously not in the deep, deep, dark ocean. There's still light that hits this part of the ocean in the Twilight Zone, but it's still pretty dark. And the Twilight Zone, as you might remember or might think, thus the name, the Twilight Zone, has some pretty interesting creatures that call it home. And with the pressure, a lot of creatures tend to either need to be really small, or very fluid, or they need to be really, really big to deal with that amount of pressure.
To withstand the pressure. Interesting, yeah. That makes sense.
Now, this particular fish that I'm talking about this week, this is the barrel eye fish. And it's pretty small.
Oh, okay.
It is not a large fish. It's about 6 inches long or 15 centimeters. And for the most part, it eats mostly zooplankton, which makes sense given its size. Zooplankton can come in a variety of sizes. There's even been some studies that scientists think that they are stealing from spianophores, which are like jellyfish kind of things.
Oh, sure.
Really, really long jellyfish. They're stealing like crustaceans and things from the tentacles, so they're getting shocked and everything from them.
Yeah.
Now, it's not super strange on that front so far, right? Like,
sure. No, it just sounds like a fish.
It's a fish. So let's talk about what it looks like. This fish is barrel-eye fish. Its body is either a brown, a gray, or a black, and it's pretty ordinary looking body. It has two flat pectoral fins, which is actually really cool. I'll tell you what those do in a minute. But its shape is very similar to that of like a bass or a trout. So it's really like a longer fish. Looks basic. It's not a panfish or like one that you would find at like a coral reef or anything. It's not super duper long. It's just like a basic looking fish. Okay.
All right.
It's got two flat pectoral fins that allow it to actually be able to precisely move. And the way it is able to use them, because there's no bones in those fins, they are actually able to flutter them so that way they can pretty much stay motionless in the water column. So they're able to be in a standstill and just hover where they are.
So like even if there's a slight current or something, they're like just sitting there.
They can just sit there, which is not a common thing to be able to do in the water. It's very hard.
So far that's mildly interesting, but not strange.
Right. Well, I just was talking about its head. Or I'm sorry. Well, I was just talking about its body. You want to talk about its head?
I mean, I'm pretty sure last I checked, the head is part of a fish's body.
It is, but everything I just described is just the trunk of the body of the fish. The head, Kirk, is transparent.
What?
The head is transparent. Like literally, it looks, and it's not just like just the head is transparent or whatever.
We're talking?
Oh, you can see into it. So yes, it is that transparent. It looks like, in
I'm looking at a picture. Hold on here.
In like a sci-fi film.
Oh my. Okay.
In like
wow.
in a
what
sci-fi
is going on here?
Oh, just wait. Especially since you have a picture pulled up, it'll be on the Instagram. You'll have to see it. So it looks a lot like an underwater vessel in like a sci-fi movie. Like scientists are coming to explore like the Marianas Trench or whatever, and they have this big submarine with this big glass dome in front of it, so that way they can see everything around them in this light. That's kind of the shape and feel of the barrel-eyed fish. Okay?
It looks a bit like, if anybody if anyone remembers the movie Mars Attacks, which is sort of a very strange cult classic film from 1996, the Martians had this, like, I think it's supposed to be like a space helmet, like a big dome over their head. This fish kind of looks like that.
It kind of does, yeah. Especially
like,
since
is that
its
their
mouth
brain you
is
can
not.
see? Like,
so I know what you're looking at. Their brain is visible, but there's more to it.
What on earth?
It's underneath, actually. It's in the water, Kirk. It's not on Earth. It's in Earth. Sort of.
Fair.
So the biggest thing, as with its name, barrel-eyed fish, that transparent head, there are these two green, like round ball-looking things on it.
Right, yeah.
Those are the eyes,
like, look,
Kirk.
glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the eyes.
The way I can describe this, those of you driving and listening can't look at this. Imagine you took a fish's head,
mm-hmm.
cut
like
cut
a quarter
back,
out of it.
Cut, yeah, like started slicing above the mouth, went back to like where the head would be, and then did a 90-degree turn up and just sliced the whole top of the head off.
Mm-hmm.
And then fried up 2 glow-in-the-dark radioactive eggs
mm-hmm.
and plopped it down on top of the fishes, on this little shelf you created.
Mm-hmm.
Those like glowing green, glow-in-the-dark eyes.
Those are the eyes, yeah.
That look, well, that eggs, those like egg, it looks like 2 egg yolks.
Yeah.
Just like, that are glowing green, sitting on a little shelf covered by a glass dome.
Yep.
It is the weirdest. This would have made a good Halloween costume. No,
right?
No one would know what you are, but they think it was really weird looking.
Well, that actually ties in with another name that it has. It's also called the spookfish.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
This is so strange.
Isn't it?
And
so
now that
bizarre?
you mention, I've seen one of these photos before.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't remember the name barrel eye, but yeah, I'm like, oh, one of these weird fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are weird.
They're so weird. So those green barrel structures are the eyes. They act like telescopes, very much like binocular vision. They're able to see a lot. The green is actually to help filter out like red light, so that way they can better see the silhouettes of their prey above them. They naturally sit, so that way they're pointing directly up, vertical, into the water column above them so they can see. Oh my gosh. But they are able to, scientists found this out recently, they are able to move them forward, so that way they can shift and see what they're eating as they're eating. So they're not fixed, they can move.
Wow, that's really cool.
So cool and wild. And I couldn't find anything conclusive on whether or not the eyes in that area is bioluminescent or if it's just the lighting from the pictures. I think there is a little bioluminescence in there, but I couldn't get anything confirmed on that.
Gotcha.
So we've been talking about the dome and the eyes a little bit. That dome is actually filled with some fluid and a little bit of transparent tissue to help their eyes be able to see and to help protect them. Especially when all you're trying to see is the shadows of zooplankton swimming around above you in the water column. That's pretty important.
So these eyes, though, they're internal eyes, right?
Yes.
Like they're not. It's there's so many questions about how that even like the eyes are inside the head, but that's
they're
okay
the only
because
animal.
the head is see-through.
Yeah, it's see-through, so it's fine. But like they're the only known animal that have their eyes below their skin inside of their head and like covered by skin and still able to see. Like there are animals who have evolved to not have eyes and like have poor eyesight and things like that, but these are the only ones where the eyes are in their head underneath their skin surface and they can still see very, very well. Absolutely wild.
And they're super deep, so this has to be like resistant to the pressure and stuff.
It's resistant to the pressure, and it actually allows, because their eyes are so sensitive and because of the type of eye that they are, that dome actually does protect them when they are going against the other jellyfish or anything like that for any crustaceans that might be trapped in the spinosaurs. So it actually allows them to be able to like not withstand a sting and not have it happen to their eyes, because vision is so important for them. So that is really important.
Oh, fascinating. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's all these issues with like eyes are so important to animals, yet they're so sensitive and they're in such a vulnerable spot because they have to be your eyes are part of your nervous system. They're connected to your brain. Some people even say they basically are so close to the brain. They're basically like just a part of the brain. So it's like part of our brain is exposed to the environment.
Exactly.
And it's like that's super dangerous and super weird in nature to have that. I mean, it's not weird because like so many animals have it, but it's just it's a weird quirk that's like, well,
it's a weird concept that has persisted.
Nature didn't really figure out another way to do it, and then you go, well, they did once. Yeah,
it did.
So cool.
Isn't it so fun? The other thing that's really cool about this, so when you look at a picture of a barrel-eye fish, there's something on the front of their face, right above their mouth, which, by the way, has no teeth. Wild.
Interesting. Okay.
They there's these two little dots that look like they should be eyes. And
yeah, I was noticing that.
Mm-hmm, they're not. Those are the nares on the fish. Nare. That's another word for a fish nose. So that's where all of the scents and things go into the fish.
Wow, and they're big. Which
they're
makes
really
sense
big
if you're in a low light environment and you're relying on other senses. So.
Mm-hmm. So it's wild. There is still a lot to be discovered about this particular fish. For context, from when we started doing remote operated vehicles, ROVs, and dives, from up until 2022, there had been over 5,600 dives. Okay. And scientists only spotted a barrel-eyed fish 9 times.
Wow.
So there is a lot to still figure out and discover. We've been able to learn some things, and there's a lot of inferences that are being made for barrel-eyed fish, but we've barely scratched the surface on this one, and they might just get weirder, and I cannot wait to find out if it gets even stranger.
I'm here for it. Let us know.
Oh, absolutely. I'm keeping my eye on it.
Oh, no. Terrible.
Thank you. That's all I have for you this week. My sources were Monterey Bay Aquarium, marinesanctuary.org. I'll cite a great article, Discover Wildlife, and Wikipedia was a great stepping stone this week. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, it'll be Kirk.
All right, Rachel, we are back. I am, put it this way. We've been vibing lately. I feel like topic-wise, sort of been all synced up. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking a page out of your book this week.
Ooh.
And doing a creature feature on an animal from your favorite place, the ocean.
Yes! Oceanic episode. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the big oceanic block here. I mean,
it's so fun.
The ocean covers 71% of the Earth's surface, right? So It's a big place. Not surprising, it should be lots of our topics. And most importantly, it isn't where we live.
Right.
Notably.
Everything is very strange for us.
Bingo. Everything there just seems really, really weird to us. Well, this week I want to talk not just about any old sea creature, but one that you have touched on before, including just a few weeks ago. I want to talk more about sea jellies.
Yes! Oh my God.
Or,
yes.
As some people call them, jellyfish, which I refuse to say because they aren't fish.
Right.
So officially there are about 2,000 species of sea jellies that are known to science, but there's like a lot that have not been described.
Oh yeah.
Many jellies are absolutely tiny. Some of them are only 0.5 millimeter wide as adults. So pretty easy to miss and pretty hard to identify different species.
Well, especially since some of them are like, they look so different from their like Medusa form to like their like larva form or whatever it's called. Oh.
And look, we haven't talked about the whole life cycle of sea jellies on the show.
No,
we
haven't.
Have to do a dive on that. It is like something you'd go, well, this is an alien. This is as close as we get to aliens on Earth. It is so weird. But we
don't need aliens from
save
outer
that
space.
for another show.
We have sea jellies.
Yeah. I did, when I was kind of doing a little bit deeper dive on this, no pun intended, I did find a number that kept coming up that talked about how many sea jellies there might be out there. And this number that kept finding was 300,000 species of jellies in the ocean.
Of species. No.
Species.
No.
Yeah. Right. And I was like, wait, hold
that
on.
That is too many.
300. We know about 2,000. We think there's 300,000. And here's the thing. Best I could tell, because I looked and looked and looked. A lot of people are throwing this number out there. I could find no original source for this number. So let's take it with a giant grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I could kind of find, it seems like, I mean, there definitely are a lot of sea jellies that are yet to be discovered, and people were sort of maybe extrapolating like, well, we've searched this much of the ocean and found this many, so therefore there potentially could be as many as this many that have not been discovered based on where we haven't looked and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm like, oh,
I
so
mean,
maybe. But at that number, I was like, oh,
that's so much.
300,000. For context, you guys, there are around 10,000 species of birds. So 300,000 species
is a lot.
That's a lot. So we'll see.
There's more birds than mammals, isn't there?
Yeah, there are more birds and mammals. We think there's somewhere around 6,400 mammal species on Earth.
Okay.
Give or take. So yeah, I mean, that's even more like wild example of like how many mammals there are compared to jellies. It's nuts. So jellies are fascinating. They're some of the oldest creatures on Earth as well, possibly going back as far as 700 million years ago.
Oh my God. That's so many more years ago.
You're like, what is that before?
Most things.
Everything? I mean, like pretty much you're like...
That's before the dinosaurs, that's before crocodilians, that's before sharks.
Yeah, it's like, even where I live, you can find fossils that are from the Ordovician, and that's like 450 million years ago. And this blows past that. Like, it's so long ago.
That's oh my God. Keep going, Kirk. I'm just going to have an existential crisis again.
That's fine. That's why I'm here. The reason I'm talking about them this week, though, is that something also mind-blowing, but much more recent than 700 million years ago occurred. Researchers published a paper about 1 month ago in October in Current Biology that just blew my mind. So these researchers were studying a type of comb jelly, and I think we touched on comb jellies maybe a tiny bit in the show.
They've been on my list for a while,
and you can leave them on there because I'm not going to fully go into them. I mean, they can be super tiny. They can also be up to like 1.5 meters or 5 feet across. That's the Venus's girdle comb jelly. But basically, they're like little jellyfish, usually, that use little cilia type little hairs to propel themselves through the water. So that's like the little comb part of those little hairs. So the particular one that these researchers were studying was the Miniopsis ladii, and that is the scientific name. If you're curious, the spelling is nothing like Miniopsis ladii. That's just how you say it.
I love that for everyone who tries to spell it, which is including myself.
It's got one of those. It's the Miniopsis is Meniopsis.
Why?
Good times. So this thing they discovered about them was completely on accident. So one day, one of the researchers was looking in the tank where they were kept and noticed that one of them was larger than the others, and was like, why is this one so big? And it almost looked like two jellies had fused together into one.
What?
And then they realized that that's exactly what had happened.
Oh.
Two jellies had fused into one. And so they were like, and on a hunch, they set up an experiment. They took two jellies and basically cut away part of their lobes. And then they placed them into tanks with another jelly close by and left them for the night and returned the next day to check on them. And what happened was astounding. They did this actually, I think, for a bunch of these eventually. And they've discovered that when they would do this, 90% of the jellies had fused with their injured neighbor to form one functional jelly. And this happened literally overnight. They come back in and they're like, there's just one jelly in this tank now. Like, what on earth? So this happens, I would say, very quickly. And this was, so like I said, this wasn't just like a situation where two jellies were living side by side and like happened to be connected. They literally fused into one being.
Like, did they, like, there was, like...
They weren't just two jellies that were connected.
Right.
They became one.
Oh my God.
Being.
Sorry, I blue screened for a little while, Kirk. My brain is rebooting.
I get it, yeah.
Which isn't great on an audio podcast, not gonna lie. Because my jaw is just on the floor. So, how could they tell, other than it being, like, physically larger, were there other, like, pieces of evidence? Like, they could see, like, a merge line? Or, like, how... Like, or is it just seamless?
It was probably clear, like, that there was, you could see two sets of different, parts that the jellies would have.
Okay.
But when I say that they were merged into one being, part of how they know that is, like, when the researchers would poke one side of the jelly, the entire body would react, which showed they had even fused their nervous systems together.
Overnight. That's insane, Kirk.
Oh, I know. This is completely bonkers.
We can't, like, if we can't even, like, regenerate our nerves. Like, once our neurons are done, like, they're done. Like,
yeah.
And they're merging.
Yeah. So this happened incredibly quickly too. Like, I remember I said it was overnight, but they kept on doing more experiments on this merging phenomenon and discovered that these new, what I'm going to call Franken jellies.
Good name.
Were able to, thank you, able to perform coordinated movements with 95% of their muscle contractions in sync within just 2 hours of merging.
God.
So the integration of the nervous systems is incredibly quick.
Yeah.
Which
2 hours?
Yeah. So they kind of start off with in the first sort of hour kind of moving independently, and then slowly kind of start to sync up. And within 2 hours, 95% of their muscle contractions were totally in sync with each other.
That's nuts.
And look, they're not as complex of an animal as we are.
No.
Right? But still, this is astounding.
Like, I don't have the words. Like, I don't think any other creature we've been able to see does anything similar to this. Like, maybe bacteria can do that. Like, mitochondria has been absorbed into.
I mean,
sort of. Like,
that's
if you
kind
get
of a different situation, but yeah,
it is. But like, this is a multicellular creature.
It's wild, right?
That is merging 2 nervous systems, 2 bodies together to create a larger creature that is still coexisting and able to just one being.
Yeah. And this is incredibly, helpful, right?
Yeah.
To help like the injured one survive. You're going to like this. You're going to like this too, Rachel. The journal also mentions that they did feeding experiments. Many of these merged pairs that had been created had 2 digestive systems, and that means, yes, Rachel,
2
they had
stomachs.
2 butts.
Yes, they had 2 butts. Yeah.
So
that's so fun.
They fed fluorescent tagged food to them, and they could actually see that it was digested and excreted through both butts. And because I haven't said butt enough, I will say there's one more big butt in this story. They do use both butts, but only one at a time. So I guess they're kind of like taking turns which butt gets to poop, basically. I mean,
why not?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'm just putting it out there.
I mean, it's kind of like, I need a break. This stomach is like, I need a break. I've worked a lot. Your turn, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird.
That's bizarre.
This is a weird quirk of nature, and I think we can all see how this would be useful skill for a jelly to have. Mm-hmm. But what about humans? Like, would this be something that we would want to do?
I mean, I'm thinking of conjoined twins.
Okay. I mean, and I think a lot of them would...
That's a similar kind of concept.
You probably don't want to be in this situation if they could avoid it. So the answer is probably no.
No.
But also yes in a way.
It could be like with transplants and everything like that. That would be very, very helpful.
Go.
Yeah.
There you go. See, the thing is, we kind of do this. If I take out my driver's license, it has an important word printed clearly on it. It says donor. I'm an organ donor, and everyone, all of our listeners, you should be organ donors too. Sign up to be an organ donor. If you are dead, you really, really don't need those organs anymore. But boy, oh boy.
You're not going to use them.
Some living person surely does. And I say, just ask yourself, if I was critically ill and the only organ, and only like an organ donation would save my life, would I take the donor organ? If the answer is hell yes, then you absolutely should also sign up to be a donor. It's pretty hypocritical to say that you would accept the donation of an organ to keep yourself alive, but you would not donate an organ if you are no longer using it because you're dead.
Exactly. Even my mom had a lot of medical issues, and she still was an organ donor. Amazing. And she was able to donate her corneas, I believe. I think that was the only thing that was available.
She lives on then.
She does.
I think that's super cool. Yeah. So I will say, if you do decide to become an organ donor and help out the living, please let your family members know about your decision too. That's really important. So the question though is donating human organs the same as what the jellies are doing? Again, no. But also yes, in a way, right? So while we don't, as an injured person, just walk on over to someone nearby and be like, oh, can I just fuse onto you for the rest of my life? Because that would be really weird. I can't even think how that would change our society. Surgeons absolutely can and do take organs from one person and swap them to another person, where they then fuse to and become part of that person's body. I mean, hearts, lungs, kidneys, the pancreas, intestines, corneas,
livers,
skin, bones, tendons, cartilage, nerves, heart valves, and even now whole human hands have been successfully transplanted to other people. So
wild.
That's kind of similar, right? Now, the real trick is rejection. So our bodies have an amazing ability to detect, I'm going to say other, I'm using my finger quotes here, other tissue, meaning that tissue that's not part of our body. And we usually set about attacking and destroying it as a part of our defense mechanism to keep us healthy. So we basically assume that a transplanted heart is actually just a massive infection of foreign cells, and then we set about destroying it. And that's obviously bad.
Not helpful.
But that's something that doesn't happen to jellies. And the likely reason is that they don't have what's called an allo recognition system.
Okay.
They can't tell their body from their neighbor's body. There's just no system to do that. So if there's something stuck onto them, they're like, oh, geez, that's probably mine. I should repair that. You know? So basically, jellies evolved far before that type of detection system existed in animals, and so they still don't have it. They just never developed it.
Why would we need to?
Yeah, and it's they I guess haven't needed it. So part of the research this team is now looking at is better understanding how comb jellies are able to merge and whether or not this could help organ transplant patients survive longer by not having their bodies reject the transplants. I don't know how that would apply, because their body doesn't have the system that our body has. We do try to tamp down our immune system when people get a transplant. That also makes you more likely to get other diseases, right?
Yeah, you're more likely to get sick.
We need our immune system. So they're saying that they're looking for ways this would help, and I believe them, but I'm also kind of like, is that just a way to get funding? Because I don't know if you're going to find anything. It's not like they're suppressing their immune system when this happens, because they don't really have one, from what I understand. So, curious. But maybe they'll find something else that they have that we don't have that could be helpful. So it's, they're taking something interesting they found and trying to study and learn more about them. Maybe they'll pan out with something, and maybe it won't. And that's okay. It's an important and fascinating journey, and we may never know what surprise discovery may end up helping us live longer, healthier lives. So time will tell if studying comb jellies will help the medical field, but they are fascinating creatures nonetheless. And the more we study them, the more we learn. So my main sources this week were an article in New Atlas by Michael Irving And then the original journal article in Current Biology by Kei Jokura et al. Called Rapid Physiological Integration of Fused Ctenophores. And that was published October 7th, 2024, if you want to check it out.
Oh, thanks, Kirk. Mind-boggling.
Yeah, what a pair of bizarre stories from the ocean this week.
Oh yeah,
it's a fascinating place. So
it's so fun.
We will be probing the depths of the deep for years to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like I meant us on the show, not necessarily scientists. So, I appreciate that in that context, you think the podcast will last forever. So I appreciate that.
Even when we're gone, Kirk, the podcast will live on past us.
Not if we don't pay our server fees. It gets deleted instantly.
Well, then I guess it will live on in the memories of our fans.
On that note, please do become a patron. It's expensive to keep all these shows online. So we appreciate you. Patreon.com/strangebynature. We'll see you there. Everybody have a great, great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.